Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Linda Jackson, and I work for the Division of Pay and Benefits in the Office of Human Capital. I'd like to welcome you today to the financial seminar. Before I introduce our speaker, I'm going to go over just a few administrative notes for you. We're conferencing over the phones. So if everybody can please mute their phones so we don't have any interruptions, we'd appreciate that. And then it's going to be informal. So if you have questions during the presentation, please come up to the microphone so that everybody can hear the questions. There's a survey questionnaire in your folder. If you don't mind, we'd appreciate it if you would complete that. And then if you have any concerns during the presentation, you can contact the HR Help Center Help Desk. Their email address is hrcenterhelpdesk@cms.hhs.gov. Okay, so without further delay, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. His name is David Walter. He is the Senior Vice President and Financial Advisor with RBC Wealth Management in Columbia, Maryland. Mr. Walter has taught very many financial planning classes at Towson, Howard Community College, University of Baltimore, or University of Maryland at Baltimore, and Montgomery College. They've done presentations for many federal agencies and for Verizon. David has 37 years of experience in financial planning and investment management, and the majority of his clientele are federal employees, so he's well versed in our retirement systems, CSRS, FERS, and with TSP information as well. So without further ado, this is David Walter and his team. Thanks.
Everybody hear me in the back? Oh, good, we're good. All right, we're live Memorex. All right, let me give you background on me. She gave you a little bit. I've been with RBC for 37 years, so I'm a little bit older than some of you might guess. I'm married. You'll see why that's important. I have a wife, Patty, who is an oncology nurse, so Patty brings one perspective home to the table. I bring an entirely different perspective home to the table. So Patty, as you know, being in the business of oncology, has a different take on life. Let's enjoy it a little bit. So she has a little bit more horror stories. My horror stories are folks who are not in a position to retire. So I'm going to beat you up a little bit today about putting money away, paying yourself first. My philosophy is KISS, keep it simple, sweetheart. Use common sense. And I will sort of make it black and blue, as I said, about pay yourselves first. It's absolutely amazing how many folks refuse to put money away. So, background education, spent time at Maryland, then finished at GW, spent some time at Wharton School of Business, and so I'm local yokel. Mom and dad moved here in 1961 in Silver Spring, Burtonsville area. Anybody know where that is? Yes? Right down the road. So, in 2001 they sold their homestead, so I've been here for quite a while. And then I have 3 boys, 33, David, Brian is 31 and Michael's 29, so I've done the college deal. By the way, we're empty nesters, so been there, done that on college. Okay, so now the focus can be retirement. Now, I need to show of hands, any CSRS people here? Do I have CSRS? Okay, and I have some FERS as well, majority FERS, yes, no, the rest of us are FERS? Okay. Let me illustrate something. This is for illustrative purposes only. Please. Make sure you heard me. Illustrative purposes only. I retired 2 months ago. I'm looking very forward to my first retirement paycheck. It's going to be in the mailbox this Friday. As I go down to the mailbox, lo and behold, there's my first retirement paycheck. I know about direct deposit. This is for illustrative purposes only. I'm about halfway up the driveway, and I open up my first retirement check, and there's a huge problem. I get in the house, and Patty says, "What's wrong with the check?" I tell her it's nowhere near what it used to be. So I'm going to call Paulette or Linda in HR, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this because someone has made a huge mistake with my retirement paycheck because it's nowhere near what I was making when I left. They are kind enough on the phone to say to me, Dave, did you attend our pre-retirement seminar? I tell them that I was too busy with work to attend the pre-retirement seminar. So Dave, what about the handbook we gave you the day we hired you? Well, truth be told, I don't know where that handbook is. I don't know if it's buried in a box via moves of residences, or is it on a bookshelf gathering dust someplace. But for whatever reason, I can't put my hands on that handbook. Linda and Paulette are gracious enough to tell me, had I done either of those two things, I would know what this check was going to look like. So, I'm going to tell you all now, you need to know your number before you walk out of here. Before Elvis has left the building, hasta la vista, you need to know your number. It is absolutely phenomenal how many folks retire and have absolutely no clue what their retirement number is going to be, or don't think about their pending retirement lifestyle that they want to continue. I'll give you an example. Just had Steve in recently, principal in a high school. We sat down 3 years ago, came up with a 3-year game plan for Steve to continue to work to pay off the mortgage and the home equity loan. By the way, so you all know, my philosophy is the day you retire, you should be debt-free. Everybody hear what I said? I think you should be debt-free. If you know the house you're in now is it, I think you should pay it off as fast as possible. If you're moving, different set of circumstances, I get it. But if you know you're staying in the house you're in now, pay it off as quickly as possible. The best feeling in the world is to be debt-free. I don't have a mortgage. Not one of you in this room can put a number on the emotional freedom it gives me to be completely debt-free. No car payment, no mortgage, nothing. As I tease my wife, we're a bank. Money comes in, we have to figure out what to do with it. So back to Steve. He's got this 3-year game plan. We're going to pay off the mortgage and the home equity loan. About 2 months ago, he up and sees me and says, you know what I'm doing? I'm retiring. I can't take it anymore. Not an uncommon statement in my office. I've had it up to here. I can't take it anymore. Well, guess what? Comes in last week, and the income that is walking in the door from his wife's pension, who retired as a nurse, and his pension is nowhere near enough to pay the bills. Owes $117,000 on the mortgage, $117,000 on a home equity loan. So I'm telling you, would we be having a conversation about how we're going to make extra money if he had retired debt-free, yes or no? Absolutely not. So I'm going to warn you, please have zero debt or as close to zero debt as possible. Okay? Now, I asked you if you're SIRS or FERS. If you're a SIRS employee sitting here, congratulations, you have the second best pension plan in the world. You can roll out of here with upwards of 80% of your high 3. At 55 years of age, you get 56 and a quarter of your high 3. If you're here 41 years and 11 months and sick leave counts, you can roll out of here with 80% of your high 3. Why is that important? Because from my side of the desk, we will tell you you will need anywhere from 65 to 80% of your last year's income to survive. So let's use an example. If I'm making $100,000 the last year of my employment, I want $65,000 to $80,000 walking in the door. Now, I'll warn you, if you stop and think about that number I've just given you from my side of the desk, you're basically coming in my office and asking me the following. Dave, how much of a pay cut can I look forward to in retirement? Because there was a gal over at Social Security where I lectured just up the street who said to me, Dave, you're telling us we want 65 to 80. She said, you know what I want? She said, I want 100%. You know what I told her? I'm with you. I'm not interested in a pay cut. I want as much money walking in the door as possible. The bigger the checks, the better. The more income, the better. Especially being debt-free. So as a SIRS employee, you have a huge head start. Okay? FERS. If you're FERS, you need to write this down. You need to know the formula for your number. No excuses. You can't call Linda. You can't call Paulette. Can't do this like the millennials want to do. It's not my fault. Someone else's fault. We need to take ownership. If you want to leave here before age 62, and as a FERS employee, you have an MRA, minimum retirement age. But if you leave before 62, your formula is 0.01 times your high 3 earnings years times your years of service. Everybody hear what I said? I'm leaving before 62. It's 0.01 times my high 3 times my years of service. On average, your pension is anywhere from 30 to 40% of your high 3. Nowhere near as generous as CSRS. That's why January 1st, 84, Uncle Sam changed the retirement program. Why? We're living longer, and Uncle Sam said, I can't afford it, so I've got to make some changes. If I desire to leave after age 62 and I'm FERS, it's a smidge better. It is 0.011 times your high 3 times your years of service. And as some of you FERS employees may well remember, your sick leave never counted. It was absolutely amazing how many FERS employees were sick versus the number of CSRS employees who were never sick. Then Uncle Sam gave you 50% credit for that service. Now he gives you 100% credit as FERS employees for sick leave computation towards your retirement. Hot diggity dog. Do you know what's interesting? Sick leave or folks being sick suddenly went down. It's absolutely amazing when we give it as credit. So I can get as much as 80 and as little as 30 to 40%. Now for all the FERS employees sitting here today, you have the Thrift Savings Plan, TSP. Everybody familiar with it? Yes, no? We'll spend some time on it. If you have questions as we go along, ask me. This is your seminar, not mine. I can come in here and talk about whatever I want. It's your seminar. Now, for the FERS employees, you have a 5% match, which was an incentive to get us to participate. It still is mind-boggling to me to this day how many FERS employees will not participate. And the line in my office is, I can't afford it. And of course, you know what I tell them in response, you can't afford not to. Now, the CSRS folks originally were a little bit PO'd because they weren't eligible for the TSP. And then Uncle Sam said, okay, we'll open it up to everybody. CSRS employees do not have the luxury of a 5% match. Now, along the lines of the 5% match, while I'm on it, do me a favor if you're FERS. Do not end it early, i.e., Dave, I usually fund my TSP by October, and I'm usually have my Social Security paid in by October. So I look very forward to a much larger paycheck in November, December. And it especially helps at Christmas time. Well, congratulations if that's your game plan. You just missed 2 months of a match. So you cannot afford to not do the FERS TSP over 26 pay periods. You do not want to end early. So whatever your amount is, and you all should know it, it's $18,000 if you're under age 50 is the max. If you're 50 or older, it's $24,000, an additional $6,000. Usually in November, the number gets adjusted by Uncle Sam. So we're anxious to see this November if they adjust it. Okay? But you can't beat it. And don't forget about the match. Okay? Am I making sense? Yes? No?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You said something really quickly. After 62, it's 0.011 times the high 3 years times your years of service, and you get 100% credit for sick leave. And then you said you can get up to 80%.
As a CSRS. I went right into, in summary, CSRS people can get as much as 80. FERS can get anywhere from 30 to 40% on average.
Okay, that's what I meant.
Okay? Thank you. Yes?
Explain what you mean by,
I'll repeat it. I'll repeat it.
can you explain what you mean by ending it early?
Okay. Question was, Dave, can you explain what ending early means? Ending early means, oh, I'm going to do the $18,000, and what I'm going to do is front load it, i.e., Patty, what I want to do is take that $18,000 and get it in 6 months. So I'm going to have the lion's share of my paycheck go in from January to June so I can be done the TSP. So the second half of the year, honey, we have more money walking in the door. And what I just did was I hurt myself by missing 6 months of a match. So I have to say to Patty, I need to take the 18 grand, honey, and divide it by 26 pay periods and have it run through the entire year. Can't afford to finish early. I can finish paying Social Security early. Why? Because that ceiling is $118,500. So if I'm working here and I'm paid more than that, I can certainly finish Social Security early and at that point receive somewhat of a larger check. But you do not want to finish early on the TSP as a FERS employee. Yes? I'm sorry? In other words, you said don't prepay. I am saying don't prepay. Take 18,000 and divide by 26. If I'm over 50, take 24,000 and divide by 26 pay periods. You do not want to prepay it, front load it, end early, whatever anyone wants to call it. You do not want to do that. Okay? Making sense? All right. Now, we have up here on SIRS and FERS. Congratulations, all of you in this room have a pension plan. Where I work, we have no pension plan. Patty, my wife at Howard County General Hospital, has no pension plan. So all of you in this room have a leg up on me. So when I get up in the morning and look in the mirror, I don't have an excuse for not putting money away. So I'm a huge believer in pay yourself first. And if we all stop and think about it, you will have 3 sources of income for retirement. You will have your pension. Congratulations, you now know your number. So your first source of income in retirement is your pension. Your second source, for many of you sitting here, is Social Security. And I get all the time in my office, it's not going to be here. I'm not relying on it. And I'm going to stand before you today and say, I bet it's going to be here. I don't think it's going away. So I'm not a naysayer or a doomsayer and not betting that it's going to be here. Because if you look or you know anyone now, and in your handouts you have a copy of the front page of the 1040. If you know anyone currently receiving Social Security. Anybody in here know someone? Parents? Yes, no? Social Security right now could be double taxed. On our tax returns, it asks us, if you're drawing it, on line 20A of the tax return, tell us how much you received from Social Security. On line 20B, it asks you to either put 50% of that number or as much as 85% of that number and pay taxes on it again. Now that 50% threshold or 85% threshold is based on your earnings in retirement. Wow! Because I get all the time, Uncle Sam never double taxes. Because you're going to ask me today most likely about, I'm going to do the Roth TSP or I'm doing a Roth IRA. Well, that's a promise by Congress that they're not going to tax you in the future. And I'm going to tell you right now, how many of you in here will rely on a promise from Congress? Because in 2012, we had the budget crisis, if you remember, at the end of the year. At the end of 2012, a proposal was floated by Congress to make Roth income subject to the alternative minimum tax. It never got any traction, but they fired the salvo over the bow of the boat to see if they could get away with it. Wow. So I'm not betting in the future that they're not going to come back and tax the Roth. And then usually someone in the audience says, well, if they do that, that's double taxation. They're already doing it. I rest my case. They're doing it with Social Security. So if you're a single individual and when you retire, if you make more than $32,000, all sources of income, you're going to pay 85% of your Social Security benefit. Again, it's going to be on line 20B. If you make more than $44,000 married, 85% of your Social Security benefit is taxed on line 20P. So they're already doing the double tax. Now, as you all know, some of the solutions for Social Security are extend the age. They've done it once to 67, go to 70. The other thought is raise the ceiling from 118.5 in taxes, just like Medicare has no limit. Remains to be seen what they'll do. But are there solutions? The answer is yes. So I believe it's going to be here. By the way, the average Social Security check today is $16,092. So if I took away your pensions and made your circumstances like Patty's and mine, so that the average check is $16,092 a year, how many of us in this room could survive on $16,092 a year? Any show of hands? Okay. I didn't think so. Yet, it was designed to be a supplement, and for many individuals today, it's their main source of income. Yes or no? Anybody know anybody where it's their main source of income? I can tell you at my parents' house, my father has no retirement plan. He's 91, no retirement plan. His only source of income is Social Security. My mom's 89. She's a retired school teacher from Prince George's County. She has a pension from the state of Maryland and Social Security. By the way, they're in a group home. The bill is $6,800 a month. Their pensions and Social Security checks total $4,200. So we're running just a little bit short. So absence of selling one of their assets, they would be in a little bit of deep kimchi, or myself, Tammy, my sister, and Rod, my brother, would be forced to do what? Make up that shortfall. Now, they sold one asset that helped bail them out. Anybody know what that asset is that they sold? Somebody said it. Their house. Okay? I've been doing this for 37 years. Do you know until 2006, folks would come in my office and tell me the only investment to put money into was real estate because it never went down. What's happened since 2006? Did we learn that real estate could go down, yes or no? However, I said in my office for years, you name the investment and I'll show you where they're all cyclical. They'll have a period where they'll go up, they'll have a period where they'll go down, and they'll have a period where they'll go flat. Every single investment. Yet folks would argue real estate was the best investment. My parents were bailed out with a sale of their house in 2001. They had a 15-bagger when they sold it. Do you all know what I mean by 15-bagger, yes or no? Let me put it in English. In 1961, they paid $20,000 for their house in Burtonsville/Silver Spring. They sold it for $305,000 in 2001. So in 40 years, they made 15 times their money. Any of you sitting here today believe you'll make 15 times on your real estate? Yes or no? What's interesting, if you go to Zillow, as you know, there are an awful lot of us who are still not back to the 2006 values. So I'm going to warn you, I would not count on the house bailing me out. Yet, as I said to you, I'd heard for years, I don't have to save for retirement because my house is going to bail me out. So, in essence, pension, one source, Social Security, second source, your savings, wherever you manage to stockpile money, is source number 3. Now, we're also taught, since I'm mentioning the word savings, we are taught that books, magazines, and newspapers will tell you anywhere from 3 to 6 months to a year in a rainy day fund or emergency account. I am frequently asked, how much money should I have in my rainy day fund? How many months? It is personal to all of you in the room. Everybody's number is different. If you want rule of thumb, it's anywhere from 3 to 6 months. There might be some of you, I know it's none of you in here, it's them out there, who are still trying to save enough to have 3 to 6 months salary. For those of you who might be there, I'm going to give you a place to go to put your savings today, because most of us have been stuck at 0.1 or 0.2% on our liquid savings. So here's a great place to go for a rainy day liquid FDIC insured account, no minimum balance, and it's paying 1.05%. Anybody interested? Yes or no? All right, you want me to give you details? Okay. The bank is Synchrony, SYNCHRONY, Synchrony Bank. They advertise in Money Magazine every month. There's usually a full-page ad. It is their high-yield savings. There's no minimum balance. It is FDIC insured. Now, let me bring you around the barn. You ready? They have 2 branches, and you're not going to either one of them. In New Jersey, Secaucus, Jersey, and in Atlanta, Georgia. So you need to do what I did. You need to call them on their 1-800 line. You need to open an account by mail. So you open it over the phone, and you tell them you're going to mail a check to them. And then if you're smart, you'll link it to your checking account at the credit union, so you have liquidity. How do we do that? Well, here's what you do. They're going to make 2 small test deposits in your checking account. I bank with Sandy Spring. Synchrony made a 26-cent and a 16-cent small test deposit into my checking account. So I called Synchrony Bank back and said to the gal on the phone, you made a 26-cent deposit and you made a 16-cent deposit. She said, fine, you're now verified as Dave Walter and your account is linked. So I can move money back and forth between Sandy Spring Bank and Synchrony Bank. Meanwhile, I'm earning 1.05% and it's FDIC insured. So I can sleep at night like a baby. No more of this 0.1 or 0.2. It's ridiculous for liquid money. By the way, if Janet Yellen and the Federal Reserve raise rates, that rate will go higher. Now, I've also had folks complain in my office, it's only paying 1.05. Are you kidding me? Meanwhile, you're sitting at 0.1 or 0.2. I just gave you a huge rate of return for liquid money. All right, any questions on Synchrony? Yes or no? I'm good? Everybody should call them on the 1-800 line. They're real. They exist. Okay. Now, let me go over 4 sources of income. The last one, as you see on the board. There is a 4th source. Sometimes in my office, I have to be Vanna White and we get to play Wheel of Fortune. And so I tell folks, if your pension, if your Social Security, and wherever you've managed to stockpile your savings money isn't sufficient, as in Steve's circumstance who came in, not enough money coming in the house to pay the bills, then unfortunately I have to be Vanna White, and it's blank ORK or blank OB. And you all know what letters go there. It's either a W or a J. By the way, it's not a very popular option in my office. And I've had unfortunate circumstances. I had a gal retire from Verizon. Do you all know Verizon Corporation? God bless her. Rolled her IRA, or excuse me, her 401k to an IRA. She needed income. She was drawing $1,000 out a month because that's what she needed. I said to her, you're taking too much. You're not earning $1,000 a month. You need to cut it back. Her response to me on the phone was, I need $1,000 a month to survive. I need it. By the way, she called Kelly, my assistant in the office last April, and said she needed to cut the distribution back from $1,000 a month to $300 a month. And she made a statement to Kelly that I've never, ever forgotten. She said to Kelly, I never thought I would live this long. I said to Kelly, I'm going to use it in my seminars. You know what she was trying to do? She was trying to time her distributions from her IRA/401k rollover to the day she what? Day she died. All 3 of us up here, Ryan, John, and myself, do retirement projections all day long. We can do them in our sleep. And it's absolutely amazing how many folks have no clue the day they retire how much money is going to walk in the door. So if you're interested, we perform these computations. It's real easy because there's questions that you should be asking yourselves now, because Ryan, John, and myself get in our office all the time. Folks come in and I have this much money to invest. And usually that's followed by, how much can you get me? So what I usually ask in my office is, if I give you the highest rate of return number on the money you want to invest with me, do I get the account? And then I very quickly say to them, you're asking the wrong question. What you should be asking me is as follows. Is my money going to last me the rest of my life? Or is our money going to last us the rest of our lives? That's the question you should be asking. Because you'd be amazed how many times we've run calculations, and a lot of folks don't need to reach for high yield. They may only need a 3% rate of return on their money to get their goal attained of being able to retire. Now, there are also folks who obviously delay and procrastinate, and they're late starters on putting money away towards retirement. So then sometimes in here the number is rather large. And unfortunately, then I have to be Monty Hall in my office. The old show, if you remember it, where there was the doors and there was a prize. And so I end up having to say, after running the retirement calculation in the office, unfortunately, I have some doors and you're not going to like any of my doors. Door number 1 is you need to save more money. And you know what happens from the other side of the desk in my office. Folks say, Dave, can't save any more money. It's all we make now to survive. Then I go to door number 2. You need to work longer. Remember Steve? Steve's game plan was to do what? Work 3 more years. Then he changed the rules. So there are an awful lot of folks who say, I don't like that one, work longer. For the SIRS folks, I gave it to you. If you're here 41 years and 11 months, you're at 80% of your high 3. For FERS, the longer you stay, hopefully your number, your high 3 is going up. If your high 3 isn't going up, the man's trying to tell you something to begin with. But by virtue of service being extended, your number will increase over time by staying here longer. I know you don't like that answer. I know it's not very popular. And let me give you another example. Verizon Corporation, where I lecture as well, every October to December, they do what's known as a downsizing. Have you all ever heard that word, downsizing? And the attempt is to get rid of people. Their most valuable commodity, yet they're most expensive. So every year they make an offer as follows. It's in October and they have to be off payroll, usually by the second week in December. It is a $60,000 offer to walk out the door. By the way, the second offer on the table is the ability to take their pension plan as a monthly annuity as you have, or in a lump sum. So let me go over the first option for you, along the lines of work longer. Okay, I get invited down to Beltsville, Calverton, Maryland. This gal has the offer on the table. I know about it. She brings me in, sits me down, and says, how much can you get me on the 60 grand? And I said, wait a minute, we need to cover more than this. Then she says to me, Dave, we either get $60,000 up front, or we get $30,000 up front and 30 over 4 years. So the first decision they have to make is, do I take all 60 at once, still subject to tax, or do I take 30 up front and have 30 over 4 years for the balance? Which one do you think most Verizon employees lean towards? 60 up front or 30-30? Which one? 60 up front. Why? Anyone want to guess why that's the most frequently chosen? Payoff. Bill, what kind of bills in particular? Thank you. Everybody hear what she said? The number one answer is, from the other side of the desk, I need to pay off bills, and it's credit cards. Always credit cards. Steve owed $25,000 in credit cards, 12.25% interest. You know what he said to me? It's not much, it's only $100 a month. You know what I said to him? There was a $100 bill in our parking lot sitting there. Would you pick it up? He said, absolutely. I said, no, you wouldn't, because you're giving it to the credit card company. So that's another thing I'm going to tell you. You want to be in a position, if you have credit cards, where you use them every month, and your rule should be pay them off in full when the bill comes in. I get it that sometimes circumstances present themselves where you can't pay it off in full. But to your level best, do me a favor, pay it off in full. You know what I had to recommend to Steve? I had to recommend that we play credit card shuffle. Everybody know what that is? I had to find credit cards with 0 interest. Chase had a 15-month, Citi had a 21-month. So we're playing the credit card shuffle where we're going to 0 interest. So hopefully you can get it paid down quicker. Okay? So where was I? Back on working longer. Scaled Verizon. Okay, so 60, 30, 30. She wants the 60 grand. By the way, her lump sum to walk out the door, 350 grand. So you know what I asked next? You folks have it here. You have the TSP. I asked her, how much do you have in your 401k? Anyone want to guess what her answer was? Any guesses? Come on. 50? Who said 0? Right there, right in the back. She didn't put a nickel in the 401k, i.e. your TSP. Now, I didn't know her circumstances. Maybe she educated 5 kids, single parent, don't know. But I had sat down the previous day with a gal who had the same offer, 60 grand. Everybody gets the same offer. She had a $350,000 lump sum provision as well, but she had $450,000 in her 401k. Can I ask you all a question? Does $800,000 go further than $350,000, yes or no? So you know what my recommendation was to this gal in Calverton, Maryland? Work longer. Do you think she was a happy camper with me, yes or no? Absolutely not. Had it up to here. 52 years of age, by the way. So, work longer is not very popular. Now, there's a third door that nobody likes, but it does happen, and it's called don't retire, die at your desk. Has it happened here, yes or no? Has it happened here? Has the ambulance pulled up out front? Forget that Charlie's here and he's been here forever and we can't get him to leave. I get those folks. They have nothing better to do in life than to work. I get that. But you don't want to be in a position where it's not about don't retire, die at your desk. And what's interesting is, every year the Employee Benefits Research Institute in Washington, D.C. does a financial survey. Every single year. Listen to this. This was this April's survey. For the first time, the survey asked if people thought they would work until they die or become too sick. 37% of the respondents said yes. They'll work until they die or become too sick. Not about you folks, that's not the financial plan. No way. Also, they were asked, how many of you expect to work until you're age 80? 34% of the respondents said they're going to work until they're 80. Should that be our financial plan, yes or no? Absolutely not. Get this. Survey participants responded that paying day-to-day bills trumped planning for retirement. They were not in a position to put any money away for retirement because of day-to-day bills. 59% of the respondents said their top financial concern was paying everyday bills. 42% said it was impossible to pay everyday bills and put anything away for retirement. Only 30% of the survey respondents had any stated financial plan, any written plan. I'm going to tell you all now, it is all about goals. You should have written or stated financial goals, because folks come in my office all the time and want to talk about performance. How well is this mutual fund performed? How well is this stock done? How good is this bond? And I tell folks, you're asking the wrong question again, because I can play the performance game all day long. I can find a bond to beat yours. I'll find a stock to beat yours. I'll find a mutual fund to beat yours. I'll find a piece of real estate to beat yours. It is all about, what are your goals? Where are you trying to get to? And yet we break goals down, Ryan. Can we go to goals? Do we have it up there? Oh, I can go here. Never mind. Let me talk about goals a minute. I break goals down as follows. Can you all see this? And as I write it, I'll say it. Okay? I break goals down. Short term, 1 to 5 years. Medium term goals, 5 to 15 years. And long term goals, 15 years and longer. Now, I've been here 37 years, as you know. The first 10 years of my career, I wanted you to like me, so all I was concerned with was your 1 to 5 year goals. And I discovered that they were all the I want goals. I want to finish the basement, want to buy a computer, want to buy a car, want to buy a home, want to go on vacation, want to take a cruise. And I kept saying to folks, well, what about this guy over here, retirement? What about over here? And I continually was told that, Dave, I've got lots of what? I got lots of time. Well, I'm going to tell you, before you know it, this is here. And before you know 5 to 15, it's here. So albeit time marches slowly, it's really quite quick. So I now start over here. I'm sorry to tell you, I'm not as concerned with your I need or have to have goals. I'm more concerned about, are you going to be in a position to retire? Otherwise, you're going to be part of the Employee Benefits Research Institute survey that says, I'm just working till I'm 80. That's ludicrous. Yes, ma'am.
So I have a question about the top 3 years for the pension formula. Is that an average of the top 3?
All right, your first name is?
Lisa.
Lisa. All right, Lisa's question was, Dave, I have a question about the high 3. It's my high 3, an average of my high 3 earning years. And then typically, Lisa, it's what? It's usually your last 3. If it's not, Lisa, the man is trying to tell you something, as I teased earlier. Okay. Nope, it's the average of your high 3. Okay? All right. Am I doing okay on goals? Short term, medium term, long term? Questions? Yes, no? I'm doing all right? Okay. And, by the way, time is either going to be your friend or your enemy. And you know what's interesting? Absolutely phenomenal. I get told all the time in my office that I have lots and lots of time. And so I want you to pretend that this is life expectancy. By the way, today, life expectancy on average is 85. Unisex tables tell us. By the way, the gentlemen in the room, we're going to live not quite as long. The ladies, you're going to live much longer. Okay? So I want you to think of this yardstick, these 2 yardsticks, as a timeline of our lives. And I want to show you something. The first 18 to 21 years, do me a favor. You can do whatever you want during that time period. Why? You're in college, you're in high school, guys are buying cars, gals are buying clothes. We're doing whatever we want. Once you graduate from college, the R word sets in. Not retirement, but responsibility. You may get married, you may buy a condo. Oh, we're moving from the condo to the townhouse. Oh, we're moving from the townhouse to the single-family home. Need to finish the basement. We want to landscape. We want to put in a pool. Oh, we've got to buy a van. Been there, done that one. Got to buy the minivan, right? Okay, so from age 21 to about 48, you know what's happening? We're living the litany of life. Kids are in private school. We got a lot of activities going on. So the focus on putting money away is not there. And there's a famous economist named Harry Dent who said Americans on average begin to think about saving for retirement on around the ages somewhere between 48 to 52 years of age. And I know it's none of you in here, it's them out there. They end up coming in my office and saying, Dave, I want to retire at 55. Really? So you know what? I've got a very short window. They'll go as long as 65, but if we're starting here at 48 and we go to 55, is that a long window to save for retirement, yes or no? Obviously, 48 to 65 is a much longer window. And by the way, in my office, I'm darned if I do and darned if I don't. And you would be amazed how many folks come in and say, I need a great rate of return on my money because I've been procrastinating. So I'm going to warn you now, time can either be your friend or your enemy as far as putting money away. Please don't make it the enemy. Make it your friend. Put away as much as you can. Because the last lines you want to learn are, would you like fries with that order? Or, welcome to Walmart. I don't think you want to learn those lines. And there's a bumper sticker. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I was out one day with Patty, and we saw it on the back of a car. It said, the one with the most toys wins. Have you ever seen it? Yes or no? Anybody in here ever seen that bumper sticker? The day Patty and I saw it, I said to Patty, oh my gosh, dead wrong. She says, what do you mean? I told her, I said it should say the one with the most money wins. Now, Patty's my sounding board. She said right away to me, that's a very crass and materialistic type statement. I said to Patty, I'm not trying to be crass, and I'm not trying to be materialistic. What I mean in English, hon, is as follows. The day I retire, if I want to work, it's because I what? I want to. The day I retire, if I choose to work, it's because I what? Choose to. I live in Ellicott City. We have a Giant Food and a Mickey D's near us. Invariably, years ago, if I took the boys up to the McDonald's, invariably there was a senior citizen in there doing what? Either waiting on us, or mopping the floor, or wiping tables down. My contention is that senior citizen was there because they what? Have to be. So I don't think you want to learn those lines, would you like fries with that order, or welcome to Walmart. Not that there's anything wrong with it, because my contention is I'm going to continue to work as long as it's F-U-N in the biggest capital letters you've ever seen. Am I making sense? Okay? So you want to be in a position where you have as many checks walking in that door as possible. The bigger the checks, the better. So do me a favor. Grab your tax bracket charts in your handouts. Grab your tax bracket charts. You pull it up there? I'm probably all over the place. Should look like this guy. Everybody have it? It's in your handout. There you go. Okay, I want you to look at this. There's a myth, it looks like this. There's a myth that gets continually perpetuated. There's a book at the library, keeps getting checked out, and I can't figure it out. And the book and the myth is, the day you retire, you want to be in a lower tax bracket. Did everybody hear what I said? The day you retire, you want to be in a lower tax bracket. I can't tell you how often that's bandied about in my office. My whole goal in life is to be in a lower bracket. So let me illustrate it. Now, let's pick on me. I'm married. So, Patty and I are going to move to Florida. Why Florida? It's one of 7 states, I'm using this for illustrative purposes, where it has no state and local tax. So I can at least avoid that by moving to one of 7 states. So let's pick on Florida. So we're now down here in Florida. We have no state and local tax to pay. So we're only subject to federal. And by the way, I want you to know we've arrived. We're in the lowest tax bracket possible. So I need you to look on my chart and tell me what our income is while we're living down here in Florida. What is our income if we're in the lowest tax bracket? How much? No, not zero. Zero to what? $18,550. So on about you folks, congratulations. We've arrived. I owe $1,885 in federal taxes. No state and local. So woohoo! About $16,000 and change we net. Can I ask you a question? Do you think we're doing much while we're in Florida, yes or no? You think we're doing a lot of entertainment, or going out to eat or those type of things, yes or no? You think we're flying back to Maryland to see the kids, yes or no? Gosh forbid if I need to buy a what? A car. Gosh forbid. So do me a favor. Now I'm going to tell you that Patty and I are down here in Florida. We've arrived. And by the way, we're in the highest tax bracket achievable. What's our income? How much? How much? $466,950. Everybody see it? Okay, now, I don't know about you all. I'm not very happy because $130,000 in change I have to pay in federal taxes. So that only leaves us $336,000 net after tax. Can I ask you a question? Does $336,000 net after tax go further than $16,000 net after tax? Yes or no? Absolutely. So, do not check the book out in the library. If anybody's sitting next to you, and I know you all have financial gurus who sit next to you, who are more than happy to tell you what to do with your money, never theirs. And if they tell you you want to be in a lower bracket when you retire, you already know the answer. Wrong. And by the way, I'm not telling you you can't retire until you're in the highest bracket. That's not my point. So let's make sure everybody's on the same page. If in retirement, look at the bottom with me. If in retirement, Patty and I are 18,550 to 75,300, is that better than 0 to 18,550? Yes or no? Absolutely. Is 75,300 to 159 taxable income better than the previous two brackets? Yes or no? So guess what? It's all about the day you retire. You want as many checks walking in the door as possible. The bigger the checks, the better. The more checks, the better. You already have the pension. You may or may not be eligible for Social Security. And then, Dave, it's my savings. So hopefully the combination of those three puts you in the highest tax bracket achievable. That's what it's about. Am I making sense? Okay? Not barking at the moon? Still speaking English? Okay. All right. Any questions? Keep going? Okay. What's after that, Ryan? All right, let me talk about paying off the house. Is it okay if I do that? We usually get it, especially in my office, especially in regards to debt-free. As I warned you earlier, I have a different philosophy. I think the day you retire, you should be debt-free, as I said. And so I think it's all about paying off the house. Now, I need to warn you. The argument from the other side of the table is that the house is a tax write-off. The mortgage is a write-off. I'm going to tell you all now, I'm going to dispel that myth. It is not the write-off you think it is. Everybody hear what I said? It is not the write-off you think it is. So what I want to do is I want to become your mortgage company now. So I am now Dave's mortgage company. And what I want all of you in this room to do is I want you to send me $1, which represents your mortgage payment. In exchange for your dollar that you put in an envelope with my name on it, I'm going to give you back 37 cents. I'm going to give you back 29 cents for federal, and I'm going to give you back about 9 cents for state and local. So 28, for Fed, 9 cents for state and local. So I'm going to give you 37 cents back. All I want from you is $1, and I'll give you back 37 cents. Is that a deal, yes or no? Come on, is that a deal? It's not a deal? Why isn't it a deal? I gave you a write-off. Why is it not a deal? Because I'm keeping $1 and giving you only 37 cents, so I end up with 63 cents, correct? Yes or no? Everybody agree? You give me $1, I give you back 37 cents, I get the 63 cents to keep. Right? Wrong. I know $1 minus 37 cents is 63 cents. I know that. But I'm your mortgage company. There isn't one of us in this room, if we have a mortgage, who gets anything back from your mortgage company. You never get a check back from them. So pardon the pun, your mortgage company has your entire dollar bill. You don't get the benefit until you file your taxes somewhere between February and April, when you get to take off 29 cents on your federal, or 28, and the 9 cents on your state and local. So you don't get that benefit until you file your tax return. Meanwhile, as your mortgage company, I have your entire dollar. And then, what's interesting, Ryan, will you show them the truth in lending? This disclosure statement, truth in lending, is required when we go to settlement to buy a piece of real estate. Everybody gets it, and it has boxes across the top, and I call it the laughing statement on the way home in the car. Because Patty says as I'm driving home, it has your interest rate in the first box. It then has how much you were borrowing. Okay? 248 is the third box, excuse me. The charge of my borrowing is $290 in this example, and the total cost of the loan is $539,000. So everybody laughs in the car on the way home. Oh my gosh, this house is going to cost us $539,000 over 30 years. Can I ask you all a question? Who's the last laugh on? Is it not on us? Would we not save considerable interest were we to pay it down faster? Now this is an example of a 30. I can run 15. Obviously, if you can afford to do a 15-year loan, you'll pay it off faster. But my point is, the bank is making all that money, that $290,791 is going to the bank. And then, gosh darn them, the mortgage companies or the banks have the audacity to say to us at settlement, do you know any other suckers, folks who could use a mortgage? So I'm going to warn you now, the mortgage isn't the write-off you think it is. Yet if you go to a cocktail party or a picnic, it is probably one of the most hotly contested topics, because if you're at that party and you say, I'm thinking of paying off my house, you'll get a camp of people who come up to you and go, great idea. If you make that same statement, you'll get another camp of people who come up to you over here and go, you're crazy, it's a write-off. And my contention is it's not the write-off you think it is. So do me a favor. I have yet, in 37 years of doing this business, ever have anybody come in my office and say to me, I have too much money, damn you. I am really PO'd. And on top of that, I don't know a nickel in anybody, and I don't like being in that position. Those folks who have no debt, especially no mortgage, walk a little bit higher in the office, and life is a little bit more palatable and a lot easier. So do me a favor. If you have to time your mortgage to the day you walk out of here, great. If you're in a position to refinance and get it to a lower rate, and you want to go from X years to Y years and you can afford it, do it. But remember, I caveated my argument with, if you know you're staying in the house you're in now. I don't know about you all. As my wife said, I lecture for State of Maryland employees. I had a gentleman who was doing this to me the whole time I was saying pay off the house. And I said, do you have a problem? And he said, well, call him Jim. He said, I'm not going to take money out of my 403B, which is the same as your TSP, to pay off the house. I said, did I say take money out of the TSP, 403B, 401k to pay off the house? He said, no. I said, so let me tell you what Patty said to me, because you're not the first to shake your head about having the house paid off. Remember what business Patty's in. Patty said, why, when you retire, would you want to worry about financial issues when typically at that age you're worried about what issues? Health issues. Why would we want to compound our lives on top of health issues having financial issues? Does it make any sense? The stress will kill us. Be debt free. You'll never yell at me for not owing anything. Okay? Yes. Yes.
Why is it not necessarily advantageous to pay off your house if you think you might move?
Some folks say I can earn a better rate of return. There are mortgages today, 2.875 for 15 years. Some of the 30-year mortgages are running 3.25. So you're in circumstances where, as you know, I can earn a better rate of return on that. So some folks argue I can go out and buy a preferred today paying 6%, and on an after-tax basis, I come out ahead. I'll give you an example. I had a gentleman who rolled his 401k to an IRA. He called me up. He had bought an RV, and the Dodge dealer told him that his truck would pull the RV. It wouldn't pull the RV. So he needed to buy a new truck. So he calls me and says, I need to take $60,000 to $70,000 out of my IRA to pay for this truck. I begged him not to. I said, you're going to pay taxes on it, and the 60 or 70 you take out is gone. And by the way, the truck will not be worth anywhere near 60 to 70,000, as you all know, 5, 10 years down the road. So I said, here's what we do. We are earning 6% in your IRA account. So we're on your 900,000, we're earning 54,000. So what I want you to do is go back to the Dodge dealer, get the best rate you can get, whether it's 0, 0.91929, and tell me what the payment is. I'm going to pay your Dodge truck payment out of your IRA account. You'll still have a taxable distribution every year based on what I'm taking out, so you're not going to avoid the taxes. The car or truck sitting in the driveway is still going to be what? Worth far less, yes or no? Absolutely worth far less. But I said you'll still have money in your IRA, and we will not have touched his what? Principal. Why? Because we're using other people's money, i.e. the interest we're earning in his IRA to pay the truck payment. So you'll have circumstances where people will say, if I can earn a rate of return on my money, that is, I'm even fortunate, Dave, I have enough that can pay my mortgage payment, and I'm coming out ahead. So all I'm using, Dave, is other people's money. I look for ways to use other people's money all the time. How can I do that? Okay? Making sense?
No, I still don't understand why the idea of selling it makes a difference.
Because some folks, I'll give you an example. I have Kay. Kay came to see me and she said, I don't know whether to fund an IRA or do I pay off the house. And the problem is, Dave, I paid $160,000 for this townhouse, and it's now only worth on the market $125,000. So I'm afraid to send in extra money to pay off the house for fear that it's good money chasing what? Bad. But I said to her, at some point, Kay, the house may appreciate again, and you may be in a position to undo this. Well, what about just funding an IRA? Well, I can't guarantee you, Kay, that the money you put in the IRA is going to be higher down the road than what you've given me. So maybe one philosophy, Kay, is to send in extra principal so that you increase your equity. So that the house is, that townhome is only worth $1.25 and it never gets above that. And you desire to go to Florida, Kay, as you said to me, the only way to increase your equity is to do what? Send in extra principal and pay it down. Okay? So you can argue both ways. Should I reinvest the money over here, or should I continue to pay down the house? All I wanted you to know is if you're staying, there isn't an argument for not having it paid off. If you're moving, maybe a different set of circumstances. You may need more equity to go to Florida. You may say, I don't need that equity in that house. I'm not going to send in extra money and have it chase bad. I'm going to put my investment money over here in the TSP, etc. So it all depends on your goals and what you're trying to accomplish. Okay? Not one size fitting all. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it true, like the basic rule of thumb regarding your mortgage interest rate is if you can't make more than 3.5% somewhere else, you pay extra payments, whether what the house is worth, because you're paying that interest rate already now each month.
Okay, your first name is?
Dusty.
Dusty? All right, Dusty said, Dave, if I'm paying 3.5% on a mortgage now, isn't it beneficial if I'm not earning better than 3.5% to continue to pay in extra? I would never argue with you, Dusty. I tell folks in my office, I'll never argue with you if you're sending in extra money towards the mortgage. So back to her example. If you came in and I said, Dusty, you can get 6% in preferreds today. So on an after-tax of, Dave, I'm paying 40% in taxes. Call it 40% of it. So Dave, that's 2.4 off of 6. So Dave, I net 3.6. My mortgage is 3.25, you said? So there you're earning, Dusty, in that example, 3.6 net after tax versus 3.25. Maybe in that circumstance, Dusty, you'd say, Dave, I'd rather put my money over here, invest it, and work that account to do what? Help pay my mortgage. Different strokes, different folks. I never argue, Dusty, with anybody in the office if they say I want to send in extra money on my mortgage, I want to pay down my principal faster. I can't argue against that, Dusty, because I don't have a mortgage. So I tell folks all the time in my office, I don't have a mortgage. Why would I tell you to have a mortgage when I don't? So I'm a big believer in not having that. Okay? Now, can I talk about TSP? Is that all right? Can we go to TSP? All right. Regarding the TSP, it should be everybody's first priority in this office. In here. You can't beat the TSP with a 10-foot pole while you're working here. Everybody hear what I said? If you're not funding the TSP, you are dead from the neck up. Everybody hear what I said? Told you I'm going to bruise you. I might. hit some nerves, you are dead from the neck up. You cannot beat the TSP. It should be your first priority. You need to max it, max it, max it, if you can afford it. We said it's $18,000 if I'm 50, younger than 50. If I'm 50 or older, it's $24,000. By the way, it's not the day you turn 50, it's the year in which you turn 50. Okay? Now, there's nothing in my office that can beat pre-tax. I don't have an investment where you get, if you're putting in $24,000 or $18,000, that helps you take that off your W-2. So what are we doing? We're lowering your W-2. Because invariably, if I brought a legal pad in here, 2 legal pads, first legal pad, I'll have you pay more taxes over here, and you'll have less money at retirement. The second legal pad I brought you today is one that you will pay less taxes today, and you'll have more money for retirement. Which legal pad would you like to sign up for? The one where you'll pay less taxes today, and you'll have more money for retirement. That's your TSP. Can't beat it with a 10-foot pole. So do me a favor. Fund it, fund it, fund it. That's your first priority for retirement. Now, if you have money, your second priority should be IRA. Everybody familiar with individual retirement accounts and that there's 2 types, yes or no? Everybody knows about the Roth and the traditional. You want me to explain them?
Yes.
Because I get this in my office all the time. I'm not eligible to do an IRA, Dave, because I'm in the Thrift Savings Plan, or I'm in a 401k, or I'm in a 403b, so I'm not eligible to fund it. By the way, if you have wages, salaries, and earnings, you're eligible to fund an IRA. Everybody hear what I said? Okay? And there are 2 types of IRAs. There's the traditional, the old-fashioned, and there's the Roth, which was created January 1st of 97. Everybody know the differences, or you want me to go through them? Go through them, give you features? Okay. When the Roth came out, I thought it was the greatest deal since sliced bread because it said all earnings on this account are tax-free. You cannot deduct what you put in. By the way, the limits today are $5,500 if I'm under 50 and $6,500 if I'm over the age of 50. That's your max funding. So Dave, I can put $18,000 and $5,500 in an IRA, or I can put in $24,000 in my TSP and $6,500 in an IRA. Yes, you can. Okay? Now, when Uncle Sam introduced this, January 1st, 97, I thought it was the greatest deal since sliced bread until I read this. Can you all see this? It's called the fine print. And lo and behold, Uncle Sam said, if you earn over a certain dollar amount, you cannot fund the Roth with current year contribution money. And so to tell you where we are today, if you make less than $117,000, bottom of the first page of your 1040, as a single filer, you can fund a Roth. If you make more than $132,000 as a single filer, bottom of the first page of your 1040, you do not qualify to fund the Roth. How about if I make in between, Dave, 117 and 132? You can fund partial dollars to the Roth. Dave, I'm married. What are my rules? If you make less than $184,000, bottom of first page of the 1040, you can fund a Roth. If you make more than $194,000 combined income, bottom of the first page of the 1040, you cannot fund the Roth. How about, Dave, we're in between 184 and 194. Partial ability to fund the Roth. So, after having read the fine print, do not qualify to fund the Roth. I'm sure your heart bleeds for me and Patty. Never been eligible to have a Roth IRA. And I'm not very happy because this is potentially tax-free earnings. So, you have choices. So I'm forced to go over here on the traditional side of the fence to the traditional IRA. Can't deduct it, we make too much. And then I get asked all the time, why would you fund it when you can't deduct the money? Well, I want you to think of it this way. For those of you that are FERS employees sitting here today, if you were hired before 2013, 0.8% of your paycheck is paid into the FERS retirement system to help give you your pension. If you were hired in 2013, 3.1% of every paycheck goes to fund the FERS system. If you were hired in 2013 or later, it's 4.4% of your paycheck goes to fund the FERS retirement system. So what I pretend is, I in essence have a FERS retirement system that I have to fund for my retirement. So why wouldn't I do that? I can't deduct it, I make too much. Doesn't matter. The account is still growing tax deferred. It's not free, but it's tax deferred. So if you're eligible for the Roth, is that the better deal? Yes, with Congress's promise. Remember back here, because I get young folks who come in all the time asking me, should I do the Roth TSP or should I do a Roth IRA? And I tell them, I ran the numbers for my 33-year-old son 3 years ago, and David and his wife, if they fund the TSP to the max every year, including catch-up, and they fund a Roth IRA, at age 60, with a 6% rate of return on their money, they would walk away with $2,548,000 tax-free via the Roth TSP and the Roth IRA. Now, let me ask you all. I'm not sure if we multiply David and Shannon by other David and Shannons, and all of them are walking around with $2,548,000 tax-free, that Uncle Sam is going to let them get away with that. Because my contention is there are these two social programs, you're here, Medicare and Social Security, which aren't necessarily flush with money, that may need some of that money to sustain the programs. Yes or no? So my guess is, don't be surprised if in the future they change the rules on the Roth and they tax it. So I have to tell young folks, I'll come get your question, I promise. I have to tell young folks many times, do me a favor. On your 18 grand, do 9 Roth and do 9 the old traditional. And at the end of the day, when you go to retire, you'll go, oh, should have put it all there. Oh, should have put it all here. You'll know the answer down the road. Okay? One isn't necessarily better than the other. Just be aware that Congress has the authority and the ability to do what? To change the rules. The most important thing is put as much in there as you can. You will never cuss me for how much money's in that account. I hear these two words all the time in my office. I wish I'd started earlier, and I wish I had saved what? I wish I'd saved more. Your question, then I'll come get yours. Yes, sir.
Yeah, should you really only consider the IRA then after you maxed out TSP because of the whole matching?
All right, your question was?
Like, should you only consider putting money into an IRA if only after you maxed out the TSP? Like, only after you hit like 18 grand?
Your first name is?
David.
David. I think, David, that it's very, very hard, David, to beat this guy because, Dave, it has the potential to be the pre-tax. Because, Dave, I get folks in April and March, and they come in and they go, we're paying way too much in taxes, or I'm paying too much in taxes as a single filer. And I said, well, let me see your W-2. So, Dave, I'm going to go right to your box 12 on your W-2 and look for letter D. And the letter D tells me how much you're putting in the TSP. So if you can at all afford it, Dave, you tell me I'm making 70 grand here, Dave, and I'm putting, 5 grand in, and Dave, I'm getting the match. So Dave, my W-2 at the end of the year says $65,000. So Dave, I get a $3,500 match. So Dave, the first misnomer sometimes in my office, and I've had it, Dave, well, the match is only 5% of what I put in. No. The match is 5% of your pay. And you'd be amazed, Dave, how many folks go, it's 5% of my 70 grand? Yeah. And then, Dave, you'd be amazed how many FERS employees aren't even availing themselves of this. They're not even in it, Dave. And I say, if you're not going to put money in, can I have your match? I'll be very good with it, I promise. I'll give it back to you later, but meanwhile, I'll take your match all day long. So, Dave, I do this all the time in the office. Dave, I make 70 grand. Assuming we can afford it, Dave, I'm going to put 18 grand in, Dave. I'm going to max it. I'm single as you are. And I'm going to be taxed at the end of the year on the W-2 of 52. Well, Dave, I already know the answer as to which W-2 you want to pay taxes on. You're going to tell me, Dave, I'd rather do it on this. Then, Dave, I have 18 grand that went in my TSP. You had 5 grand. We both got the match, Dave, of $3,500, correct? And Dave, assuming we both put it the same account, the G fund. Let's just pick one. You're in the G fund and I'm in the G fund. You have $8,500 that went in the G fund during the year, and I have $21,500 that went in the G fund. At the end of the rainbow, when you and I get ready to retire, who's going to have more money? Yet I hear all the time in my office that, well, what I want to do is I only want to do up to the match. So I'm only going to do 5%, and then I'm going to do this thing called the Roth IRA instead. And I say to folks in my office, Dave, I still think the first priority, bar none, is this guy. So many times, yes, Dave, I'll say to folks like you, why are you here? Well, I want to invest some other money. Okay, I'll help you with that. But are you maxing the plan at work? No, I'm not. Well, I'm going to urge you on my knees in my office to put as much as you can in the TSP. It's too good a deal. You had a question here?
Yeah, my question is, when you mentioned something about Congress possibly changing and taxing it off later on, when they do that, and at least based on past experiences, do they do that retroactively or moving forward?
Okay, so your question was, Dave, should Congress in the future change the rules? Do they grandfather it and say everybody before this date is protected, and as of this date going forward, here are the new rules? Most folks would tell you unequivocally yes, but I will tell you with real estate, when Mr. Reagan was in office, they changed the rules on depreciation of real estate properties, investment real estate. And Mr. Reagan signed the bill in November of that year, and it was retroactive back to August. So can you imagine if you had bought a piece of real estate from a realtor, and your whole intention was to depreciate that property based on a certain schedule, and yet the rules were changed, and you thought because you bought it before he signed the bill in November, you were protected, and lo and behold, they went back to August and said, sorry, it's as of August. So I would urge you not to rely on that promise. What I would urge you to do is put away as much as you can in this guy or this one. And invariably, if you'll do these two accounts, you'd be amazed how many folks are perfectly set for retirement. It's absolutely phenomenal. If you'll max them. I don't know how you beat it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Dusty.
I always thought that thinking with the Roth IRA, because you pay taxes up front rather than later, that it's a gamble on whether you think that taxes are going to continue to go up or go down, and that can change based on each administration. So, your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that, Dusty? All right, Dusty, you said, Dave, the Roth is supposed to be after-tax money, no deduction. And always the idea was make some of it tax-free because should taxes be higher when I go to retire, I have a tax-free benefit by having used the Roth, correct?
Well, it's like a guessing game. If I think taxes are going to go down in the future, then why would I want to pay higher taxes now on my money in a Roth with the higher taxes now? So it's kind of like a betting game.
Correct. All right, everybody hear what she said? Dusty said, Dave, it's kind of like betting. Do I do the Roth with the idea that if I'm in a lower bracket down the road or a higher bracket, what's the best strategy?
Not just the bracket, but if the taxes change.
Well,
Say if we get a new administration and it's coming 15% less.
I would tell you this, Dusty. I've always said to folks, because I always get asked, what do you do? I do everything pre, the old traditional TSP. We have a 401k, so I don't have the TSP. Patty's 403B at Howard County General Hospital is pre. Why? I want to pay the least amount of taxes today. Now, Dusty, there's usually someone in the back row who says, but what are taxes going to be when you retire? And I always yell back, I don't know. I can't worry about what they'll be. Since 1913, to your credit, the tax bracket rates have changed 35 times via different administrations. So I don't let the tax tail wag the dog. I've had folks in my office, Dusty, who won't sell a stock when it's starting to go down. And the best example was a gentleman who owned Cisco. He wouldn't sell it. And you can't believe he turned $3,000 into over $660,000 via stock splits and how much Cisco appreciated. Not food Cisco, Cisco the router company. When he came in, Dusty, I didn't even know what the company was in 1990. I said, what does Cisco do? I'm thinking the food company. He said they make routers. I'd ask him, what's a router? Well, it's routes stuff through a computer. I didn't even know. So he bought 100 shares for 30, and it mushroomed to 660,000. Do you know, we'll call him Jim. Jim wouldn't sell it because the taxes would kill him. You know what happened to Cisco? It went from 80 to like $8 a share. The 660 went all the way back down. He could have sold it, paid his taxes, turned around, and when it bottomed, bought 33,000 shares at 12, turned around and sold it again at 21, double hit it twice. But you'd be amazed how many times, Dusty, in my office, folks say, tax tail's going to wag the dog. You make your monies, you pay your taxes. I got asked yesterday, Dusty, when I was lecturing, is there any way to avoid paying taxes? Teasingly, I said to that individual, when you figure it out, will you let me know? Because the best place to do damage on the 1040 is line 7, your wages, salaries, and earnings. How can I bring my income down? You have a 1040 in your handout. How can I bring my income back down? The TSP, 401ks, 403bs for my spouse, 457s, I'm bringing my income back down. Then in the old days, everybody loved to brag about how much interest they were earning on their account. Well, what's that line do to us? Line 8, interest earned. You're jamming the income back up. Line 9 is dividends. Well, there's a small break there on qualified dividends, only subject to 15% tax. And then it was, maybe I can get to, I own all this rental real estate. Well, they changed the rules on rental real estate. If you make more than $150,000 a year, you don't get a current benefit on your tax return. So Uncle Sam stays up just as late as we do, closing loopholes or trying to find more ways for us to pay taxes. So the biggest damage, bar none, is line 7. TSP, 401k, 403b, 457, all pre-tax retirement plans. I would not let the tax tail wag the dog. I want to know how I can pay less taxes today. I can't worry about what they'll be in the future. But everybody's different, Dusty. I have some folks. Anybody in here not have a traditional IRA? Anybody sitting here today not have traditional IRAs? I want to show you something. A gift that was given to all of you. Okay. If you have no traditional IRA, January 1st of 2010, a gift was issued. And the gift was as follows. The gift is known as a backdoor Roth IRA. So let me illustrate it. When this came about, January 1st of 10, I got very excited again until I read the what? The fine print, and then I realized we don't qualify because it said, if you have a traditional IRA over here, this will now be subject to tax. Oh boy, I'm not paying taxes. So that's why I asked of you sitting here today, how many of you have no traditional IRA? You're ideal for this. So watch. You open a traditional IRA to the max of $5,500 or $6,500, depending upon your age. You let it sit one night, and it's converted the next day to a Roth. Because this account earns 0, you have no tax liability on that conversion. And now you've made it a Roth. But I make too much to do a current year contribution. We're not doing a current year contribution to a Roth. We're doing a backdoor Roth, where you open the traditional first, you let it sit one night, you've earned nothing, and you can now convert it to a Roth. Here you go, you have a Roth. For people sitting here today who are in CSRS, do I have any still here? Yes, no? You have a gift that you've been given. I don't know if you're aware of it. Any of you know about the VCP, Voluntary Contribution Plan? Yes or no? Do you know about the VCP? All right, let me go over this. This is too good a gift. Now, first, folks, you can't yell at me. The VCP, Voluntary Contribution Plan, is only available for CSRSers or CSRS offsetters. I'm just the messenger. I don't make the rules. I don't know why FERS employees aren't eligible for this. But if you have a spouse or someone you know who is eligible for the VCP via they are CSRS or CSRS offset, pay close attention. This has been around forever. It was $25 per payroll deduction. Most folks are not aware of it. It's a tax-deferred account. So whatever this money that you put in sits in this voluntary contribution plan and earns an interest rate that is tax-deferred. The idea was when you went to retire, you could use that money to increase your monthly annuity or get a check. Okay, so it was like a quasi-savings account, except it was tax-deferred. January 1st of 2010, due to the backdoor Roth and conversion rules coming into play, you can now open the VCP as late as 4 weeks before you retire, fund it, convert it to a Roth, and jumbo size the Roth. And here's the rule. You're allowed to put in as much as 10% of your lifetime earnings via federal employment. So may I use an example? Is that all right? I've been here 30 years. I've earned $1,750,000 in my lifetime by working at this agency. Where'd you get that number? It's on your pay stub in the top right-hand corner, and it says cumulative retirement that you've paid in. Look at that number in the top right-hand portion of your paycheck. Divide it by 0.07, because that's how much CSRS folks paid into it. And it comes up and says $1,750,000 is what my lifetime earnings have been. At 10% of that is the max that can go in here, so I'm allowed to put in $175,000 into the Roth. Well, wait a minute. I thought the current year contribution was $5,500 and $6,500. It's not a current year contribution. It's a backdoor / conversion. Oh, wow. So I can jumbo size the Roth? Yes, you can jumbo size the Roth. Wow. You'd be amazed how many times when we're doing retirement projections, we ask folks in retirement, would you like a travel fund? Yes, I would. Well, if you're CSRS or CSRS offset, you should avail yourself of the VCP, then convert it to the Roth, because this money can now earn interest that might be what? Tax-free in distribution form to fund your travel fund. Is this a great country or what? Yes or no? What a great place to work. It is not available to FERS, and don't yell at me, I don't know why.
And then you can do that at what point you need to.
Okay, Dave, the question was, at what point is it smart to do this? If you don't want to have much earnings, we recommend you do it about 4 weeks before you walk out the door. You get the VCP account established. So you have to open the account. You send no check. There's no money that has to be funded immediately. You need to get the account open. You get a letter back in the mail that says, here's your VCP account number. Once you get that letter, you can fund the VCP, not to exceed 10% of your lifetime earnings. And I had a gentleman come in one time who said, this is the greatest deal since sliced bread, and he was looking at me for the money. And I said, I don't have the money. You have to come up with the money. You have to either have a CD, savings, stock you want to cash in, bond you want to cash in. You have to come up with the cash. So then you fund it before you walk out the door. After you retire, we go to VCP and get it put into the Roth that we've established for you, and now you have a supersized Roth account. Okay, the question was, Dave, can I transfer the funds from my what? Okay, can I transfer my funds from my traditional IRA to the VCP? Are you eligible? No, here's... Okay. You have to be CSRS or CSRS offset, as we said. Remember that. And if I have a traditional IRA over here and I want to fund my VCP account with it, I'm going to have a tax liability when I cash this in. Right? Now, you could say to me, it's not a big deal. I don't mind paying taxes today so that I can have a big Roth supersized account later. That's your call. Everybody's different. No. You have folks today, January 1st of 10, you were allowed to convert a traditional IRA to a Roth. So you can do this, where you say, Dave, I'm going to take my traditional and now convert it to a Roth, as long as you're willing to pay the taxes. And Uncle Sam hopes that lots of people do it. Why? They're looking at a revenue increase, potentially. Okay? All right. Any more questions on VCP for the few CSRSers? It's too good a deal. Can you fund it from the TSP? What makes it, the TSP is taxable if it's been pre-tax. So if you cash in the TSP to do this, you got to pay taxes on the TSP, right? Right. It's typically CD, savings, stocks, bonds, mutual funds that I cash in. I received an inheritance. My mom died and left me this money. I'm trying to find a home, something smart to do with the money. This may apply, especially if I'm CSRS or CSRS offset. Okay? All right, you want me to talk about where to put the TSP, yes or no? Talk about where to put it? Okay. All right, you have the following choices. CSI, F, G, and the L funds. Everybody familiar with them, yes or no? Do I need to explain them? C is S&P 500, S is small cap, I is international, F is bonds, G is interest. Rule of thumb, especially after 2006, or 2008, 2009, when the market went to heck in a handbasket, right? And we all thought the world was coming to an end. Everybody and their brother, T. Rowe Price, Vanguard, Fidelity, every investment firm and their brother came out and told you the following. Your age should be equal to, as a percentage, what you keep on the safer side of the fence. Did everybody hear what I said? Your age should be equal to, as a percentage, what you keep on the safer side of the fence. Now, when the market is going up, nobody cares about that rule. Did you all hear what I said? As long as the market is moving upwards, that rule goes out the window. Same with, we tell you diversify, diversify, diversify. In our sleep, we can say that word, and it falls on deaf ears when the market is going up. The only concern with diversification or percentage allocation to the safer side of the fence is when the market goes down. I've had folks in my office tell me they're diversified because they're CS&I. The market is dropping, and they come in and they say, I think I should diversify further. Why? Well, you know, the market's dropping now. And probably the most recent example was Brexit. Do you all remember Brexit? That Friday, the market dropped like a rock, followed by Monday, and everybody thought the world was going to come to an end. Well, we fooled them. The market hit a high, last week? Highest it's ever been. So it didn't look like Brexit was too much, maybe just a blip on the radar screen. But I will tell you that strategy says your age is supposed to be equal to what you keep on the safer side of the fence. So as an example, if I'm 52 years old, it says 52% of my money should be on this side of the fence. That means I'm willing to sleep at night with 48% on the C, S, or I. Historically, the F and G are the safer side of the fence. If you don't want to lose a nickel, which I hear in my office all the time, so you need to think about this. Do not yell out your balance. So I'll ask you the question. How much do you not want to lose? And invariably the answer is, I don't want to lose any. If you don't want to lose any money, it all belongs in the G fund. Yeah, but it's paying terrible. You can't have your cake and ice cream too. I know the rate isn't great. It's 1 and change. But you can't lose a penny. And it's your money. So every one of us in this room has a different sleep at night factor on what you're willing to put at risk. So sometimes strategies are as follows. Dave, I'm getting close to retirement. My account is worth $450,000. And someone in the office will say, I don't want to lose a nickel. Well, in that example, the 450 belongs in the G fund. So as I march closer to retirement, Dave, though, I'm noticing that the C, S, and I funds are taking off. I feel like I'm missing the boat. Well, what you can do for one strategy is take your current year contribution of 24 grand or 18 grand and put it in the CS&I fund to participate in that growth. If your 18 or 24 goes up that year, at the end of the year, move whatever your gains were now back to the G fund. And you've got the bird in the hand. Whatever you made is locked in. And you can do that every year. Especially as you march closer and closer toward that day when you're walking out of here and you need that amount of money to be there. Wow, Dave, I've locked it in. I played with only what I thought this was going to do. Some folks will say, nah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be 52% of new money in the G, and the difference, Dave, 48, I'll still go CS&I. Different strokes for different folks. All of us are unique and different, and as I said, have a different sleep at night factor. But you need to go back and think about how much do you not want to lose? Everybody loves making money. We all do. It's all about how much do you not want to lose. Okay? And these can be quite volatile over time, so you must understand that risk you're putting your money in. Okay? Questions on TSP? Any? Yes? No? Yes, ma'am.
What do you think about the L funds?
What do I think about the L funds? Okay. I guess I got to get rid of this. L funds, as you know, are a combination of the CSI, F, and G. And they're targeted to years. The L funds were created originally as a result of the corporate world. So let's pick on Enron. Most companies take the company match money and put it in their company stock plan. So Congress said, we're not going to have that where company match money just goes in the company stock. So target date or L funds were created for diversification purposes so that match money was not just put in the company stock. So it was an effort to diversify the money further. I tell folks in my office, your first name is?
Penelope.
Penelope. I tell folks in my office, if you want out of sight, out of mind, you want to go to dinner, you want to go on vacation, and you don't want to worry about it, put in an L fund near your retirement date, L30, L20, L40, L50, and don't worry about it. It automatically rebalances on a quarterly basis. So it adjusts, as you know, the closer I march toward my date. So if I'm L2030, the closer I get to this date, the more it leaves the CS and I funds and marches towards the F and G as a percentage. But the fallacy is, Penelope, folks then as they get to retirement go, I'm going to go to the L income fund. Because when I'm in the L income fund, I don't have anything in the market. I'm not in CS&I. Oh, yes, you are. If you'll go to the website and look at the L funds, the L income fund always maintains a presence in the CS&I fund. It is not out of the market. You still have money in the market. So, upon retirement, I will tell you now, you have three choices, so let's talk about your choices. The day Elvis has left the building, you are allowed to do the following with your money. You can leave it in the TSP. Leave it as is. Number two, you can buy an annuity from MetLife and have a check the rest of your life. By the way, if you do number two, interest rates have never been lower. Go to the page on annuity rates. If you annuitize it, you are locking in the interest rate. You cannot call the TSP folks 5 years from now and say, interest rates have gone up. I've changed my mind. I realize that lump sum of money could be earning more and paying me more on a monthly basis. So what I want to do is have the money at a better rate. Once you annuitize it, you're done. That is your rate for life. You must live with it. So I don't typically recommend this unless interest rates are very, very high. If they were 18% tomorrow, I'd tell you run, don't walk. But they're historical lows. Choice 3 is roll it to an IRA. The only reason to do that is you have more choices than CSI, F and G and L, more choices. You control the money. It's your account. So IRAs have some decided advantages over leaving it at the TSP. But can you leave it at the TSP? The answer is absolutely yes, you can. And at 70 and a half, they need to know where you live because you're going to be required to take a minimum distribution at 70 and a half, whether you want it or not. And so you know this fallacy as well. If you have CSI, F, and G, you cannot tell them only take the money out of the G fund because the CS and I funds are screaming positive and continuing to go up. It is an across-the-board distribution. They're going to take it out of all the accounts as to your percentage allocation. In an IRA, can I get around that? You can have a C fund, S fund, I fund, F fund, and a G fund here and say to me, Dave, I only want it out of my G fund type of account. Okay, it's your account. So the IRA has a little bit more flexibility. It's your money. Be very good with it. You may need it to last another 30 years. Look at my dad and mom, 91 and 89. We're living longer. My oldest client was 102. The money may need to last a very long time. It's absolutely amazing how many folks think the day they retire, that's it. I'm going to pull in the reins. I'm going to put everything in the G fund, put everything in the credit union at 0.1. Meanwhile, inflation's running 3.2 historical. Your purchasing power is being eroded. You need a better rate of return. You cannot afford to just pull in the reins and go super, super conservative. Okay?
Are there administrative fees on the IRA account?
There are administrative fees on leaving it here and administrative fees here. Nothing is free.
Isn't TSP the lowest rate?
I can't equivocally say that it's the lowest, bar none. Is it cheap? It is very, very cheap. So what one must look at is performance after that. How well has the money performed relative to? So what I run in my office when asked is, Dave, do you have a fund that is comparable to the C fund? Yes. I go to Morningstar. RBC has no RBC stocks, no RBC bonds, no RBC mutual funds. So I use Morningstar as my Bible, Dusty. So if you came in to see me, I would say, Dusty, there is a fund exactly like your C fund, and it beats it. Dusty, there is an S fund that beats your S fund. There's an I fund that beats your I fund. There's an F fund that beats your F fund. And I can beat your G fund. But not, Dusty, while you're working. Don't come in while you're working. Only after you retire. Dave, can I look at those numbers? If you want Dusty after we're done today, I brought it with me. You can sneak a peek. I run it every month. Okay? And it's net after costs, all costs. Otherwise, it's not an apples to apples comparison. Okay? So you can beat it. But if you like the TSP, you can keep it there. Okay? Other questions on TSP? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so you're saying, Dave, the stock market, if I look at a year, has better performing months? Or you said, Dave, typically in October it goes down? I would say this to you. Remember, back to the TSP. Let's pick on the TSP since we're there. The first thing you have to do, and your first name is? Alanda. The first thing you have to do is fund it over 26 pay periods, right? Otherwise, you're not going to get the match. By virtue of you funding it every 2 weeks out of your paycheck, you are dollar cost averaging that money. Do you know what I mean by that? If it drops, and you can go online to the TSP website, and your CSNI and F&G funds will have a price per share listed. So Ilana, if it's $10 now, and here comes October and it drops to $8, and you're putting money in every 2 weeks, right? By virtue of you funding it when it's $8, aren't you buying more shares here when it's cheaper? So that's what you want to do. You want to buy more when it's on sale and less when it's expensive. So by virtue of doing that, Dusty, don't worry about at what point is the market up or down. Keep buying.
So my question is, I'm nearing retirement, and I probably should have looking at the percentage, and I know it moves my money around, and everything's in common stock.
Everything's in C? Well, then I'm going to ask you the question which I asked earlier. Dave, I'm getting ready to retire, you said. You ready? How much do you not want to lose of your TSP? Don't tell me a dollar amount.
Okay, I don't want to lose it, but I know I can't touch it until I'm 59 and a half, so I'm not as worried as maybe I should be.
Okay, then
I have to touch it then.
if you came in my office and said, Dave, I'm not as worried about it. I know these three or this one where I have all my money fluctuates. As long as you can sleep at night, I can sleep at night. Whose money is it? It's your money. All I asked you was, how much do you not want to lose? You said, I don't mind because I can't touch it until I'm what? As long as you understand this, as long as you understand that, it's your account. It'll fluctuate. It'll drive you to... And you know what's interesting? Do me a favor. In your handouts, go to the last page on the right-hand side. Should be the last page on your right. Should have one that says this, staying the course. Go to this one, staying the course. Looks like this. It looks like bars. Everybody find it? Staying the course. I want to show you something interesting. This goes all the way back to 1980. Is yours in color, orange and blue, like mine? Okay, the orange line represents, Yolanda, this is great. You ready? The orange line represents at some point during the calendar year from 1980 all the way through to 2015 for complete years, how much the market went down at some point. Doesn't give a date, just says this is the worst it went down during that calendar year. Everybody see it? Okay, so last year, see if you're with me, how much did the market fall at one point in 2015? Minus 12%. Everybody see it? Don't know when it was. They don't put a date. So they don't tell us September 1st to September 22nd. No date. Just says it went down. The blue line represents where did the market close at the end of the calendar year. Was it a positive year after all or a negative year? Last year, the year was what? Slightly negative. It was minus 1%. You're now looking at 16, partial year. But if you'll go from 1980 to 2015 with me a moment, you have 9 years where the market was negative. 81, 90, 94, 2000, 2001, 2002, 08, 11, for all intents and purposes, and 15. So out of 36 years, the market was negative 25% of the time. It was positive 75% of the time. But does it go down, and has it gone down every year since 1980 during the year, yes or no? Absolutely. So back, Yolanda, to your point, if this doesn't bother you, where we now have 36 years of proven history of sometime during the year it does what? It goes down. If it doesn't bother you, that's great. Just understand it. And what's phenomenal in my industry is when we have a sale, i.e. the market is cheaper, no one ever calls. The phone never rings. And yet you hear the line, buy low, sell high. Never happens. Why? We're too afraid. We think it's always going to go lower. Yet when the news is great and the market finally starts to take off, the phone rings and I want to buy now. And folks invariably buy at the high, which is absolutely beautiful about your TSP. It has to come out of your paycheck every what? Every 2 weeks. Doesn't matter what the market's doing. You can't time it. Every 2 weeks that money's come out and it's going in. You're dollar cost averaging, whether you like it or not. It is the best medicine for your account. Dollar cost averaging is absolutely phenomenal. Okay? So be aware, the market goes up and down. It isn't a straight shot to the moon, as we said with real estate. Okay? Any other questions? We're about at 10 to 3. I'll be here for questions, personal questions, if you'd like. So thank you for coming. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, we'll be here. Do we have a website? I have a card if you want. Grab a card. You can. And we'll be here for questions.
What was that, the name of that bank, I think, can you spell it again?
Synchrony.
S?
SYNCHRONY. Yeah, sure. Grab it up there from Ryan.
Hi, you guys. Thank you.
You can-
If you can do your questionnaire and turn it into the ladies outside at the table, we'd appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for coming today.